Welcome to the e-commerce growth show, brought to you by Segmentify.
Hello and welcome to the e-commerce growth show. My name is Phill K, and as I'm sure you know, I run partnerships now for Segmentify, which is just really exciting, great role, really privileged to be in it. Love speaking to wonderful partners out there across the globe, and bringing great best practice to the community in all the territories that are listening. Today, actually, I've got a special surprise for you. A lady called Braud, who is coming out of Tennessee, or I'm sure she can tell me exactly where she is in a minute, but near Nashville, in that area of the United States, which is really great. So she is one of our thought leaders, and I'm talking to her today all about what you call a story consultancy, which I don't know too much about, so I'm really looking forward to talk to her about that. She's had about 12 years experience. She's worked in international non-profits, so that'll be an interesting angle to pursue for the e-commerce side of things, but also had experience in health tech companies, and has worked with e-commerce brands as well. And I hear that she ghost wrote a book, which I also learned today was, I didn't know was something that existed. So very interesting. Anyway, hi Sarah, how you doing?
Good. How are you, Phill? Thanks for having me.
Hey, not at all, not at all. I just heard that it's snowing where you are, right?
It is. It is. We don't always get snow in the South, but
No.
when we do, it's everything shuts down, and we all get excited. So
Absolutely, like everyone, hopefully in the snow, like become kids again. It's great. It's great fun. It's pretty cold though in general right at the moment. I suppose we're into sort of early December now, so we're pretty cold as well. We haven't any snow yet, but there might be some in the hills. So you never know. We might be traipsing up there with the kids and the what are those things called? Sledges. Anyway, so as a bit of a starter, I thought I'd ask you about an Audi commercial. How did you manage to get to write a commercial for Audi? That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's really neat. So I've been writing for a production company called Natus Films for about 10 years. I've written pretty much all of their promotional videos, and I've written promos for the Jennifer Lawrence Foundation and Gilda's Club, which is kind of a cancer support nonprofit, and then some other more local type nonprofits. But they do both nonprofits and corporate gigs, and so I've been able to write for them for quite some time. So then when they got this Audi commercial, I was able to put in my script for it, and so it's on it's like a video on a online commercial, so it's not on live TV, but but it's out there, and it was super fun to do.
Oh, I bet. That sounds really cool. We'll have to look at it. Is it on YouTube or anything?
Yeah, it's on YouTube. I'll send you a link.
Yeah, no, do. That'd be cool. Okay, cool. Well, I mean, moving on to our sort of topic for today, going back to what you do as your kind of consultancy. You mentioned to me that you're a brand marketer and story consultant. Do you want to tell the guys in a nutshell what that is?
Yeah, so brand marketing and story consultancy really go together. So I use words to help people sell their products or services, whatever that may be. And the best marketing strategy revolves around telling a really good story. And so brand messaging, starting with what is your overall message as a brand, and then how do you sell individual products? Those are separate tasks, but they all kind of really need to start from a place of story, because that is really how we engage and connect the best way. So
Mm.
I'm a big advocate for learning how to tell your story as a brand.
Okay, that makes
Yeah.
a lot of sense. I completely get that. Even like every human wants to be able to connect with the story. I think purpose is very much linked to a story, even at the granular level. When
Yeah.
you're building influence with your relationships around you and all the rest of it, it's always your story, isn't it, that connects with another human. I mean,
That's exactly right.
where do you start though? I mean, we talked about frameworks and stuff at the beginning. Where
Yeah.
do you start with doing this, with getting this done?
Well, I mean, the best way to start building your story is by understanding who your target audience is. And that target audience, or your buyer persona, or your ideal client avatar, whatever you want to call it, that's the hero of your story. So the biggest mistakes brands make is that they make themselves the hero of the story.
Right.
And they just, introduce themselves, telling their own perspective and their own, like, here's who we are, here's what we're about, which unfortunately puts you in direct competition with your audience, because everybody that's walking around thinks they're the hero of the story. So, if you position your brand more as the guide to the hero of the story, then your perfect client will start to see you as a thought leader, or as the guide to help them get to where they're going. So everyone's walking around with certain goals of their own, and helping them achieve their goals is really how you want to position yourself.
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, this plays out in humanity, right? I mean, what I'm hearing here is actually basic empathy, because if I walk around going, hey man, I'm Phil K, I'm so amazing, I'm so great, yeah, look at me, people don't like me, I'm just arrogant. But the minute that I actually put the other person at the center of my world and listen, sow into them, encourage them, help them, all of a sudden that's where the connection comes with. So really what you're doing is you're transferring that kind of paradigm, if you like, and putting it into the product world, right?
Right. Yeah. Because, everybody knows your motives for telling a story, right? Like, if you just tell a story at the dinner table, people know if you're telling it because you're trying to get glory, or they know you're telling it so that they can, learn something from it, or experience it, or enjoy themselves. There's, we can read each other's motives, and that's same goes for brands.
Yeah, no, completely. I mean, it's kind of interesting concept, probably something for another time. Certainly as you're a sister in Christ and all that.
Yes.
But, in terms of selfishness versus selflessness, but there must be an interesting area there, because ultimately, you're trying to sell something, you're trying to get things in front of people. So in a nutshell, is it an authentic thing, or is it a prescribed thing?
It's interesting, because my personality, authenticity is like number one for me. So, I'm honest to a fault. And so it really, marketing is often something that feels like lying a lot of times. But really, the authenticity comes in because you're actually offering them, if you believe in your product, if you think it's a good product, you're offering them a way to help them achieve their goals. So if you really understand your client, or your customer, and you understand that they have certain problems and obstacles that they're trying to overcome, and your product will help them overcome it, then you're really helping them. And so transformation really needs to be what your story is about, and every good story is a transformative story. So I think
that makes sense.
Yeah.
No, it does, because if like, what am I doing? I work for Segmentify. we provide personalization solutions, there's a whole catalog of reasons why we sell them to help people. If you, like you say, you believe the fact it can deliver, prove that it will deliver, and you're then helping the right people at the right time to engage with you. And the whole of that is authentic. The fact that you're selling something is actually immaterial. The point is, like you've just said, are you connecting with the heroes of your story in an authentic way so that they know they can make an informed decision to buy from you or not at the end of the day, right?
Yeah. And, understanding that sometimes your brand, the additional value that you bring with your brand isn't just the product, but everything else that goes with that brand. So even if it's, hey, if you're attached to our brand, your, status is improved. That is still meeting a need that's a perceived need that they have. And so even at its most base, brands can really be just a way to serve your customer.
No, sure. Well, I think that is a subject that we could talk quite a lot about, actually, and how that interweaves with personal values and, as I say, the sort of whole idea of selflessness, and then, the kind of end of what you're trying to do is sell and stuff. Quite interesting in that area. But anyway, going back to the beginning of this, so talk to us about frameworks, ways in which to realize this, because you mentioned frameworks earlier. Tell us a bit more.
Well, there's definitely several frameworks out there for how to write a story. And, I was a creative writing major, and that's what I got my degree in. And, there's all these, kind of templates out there for how to write a good story. And, you learn the basic one in grade school, right? It's the story arc of beginning, middle, and end of a story. You learn that there's setting and character, and then there's conflict and rising action and a climax and falling action. So all these are frameworks for writing a story. And so, basically, if you're a brand that is trying to connect, you really need to know what is your story arc. Where on that grid are you falling, and what pieces to that story puzzle are you telling? So, obviously it starts with knowing who the hero of your story is, or your main character, which is your customer, and then what they want. Everybody starts with, a goal of what they want. And this is where it gets exciting for me, because then you bring in, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, this psychology of what people are trying to gain, what their needs are, what their base physical needs are, and then what their emotional needs are, all the way to their philosophical and spiritual needs. And so, if you understand what it is that they want and what it is that they need, then you can begin to understand what problems that they face that are keeping them from achieving those needs. And so if you can clarify and identify what those specific problems are, then you can say how your product will help them overcome those problems. And so oftentimes in sales and marketing, we call that pain points. What are the pain points that you're addressing? But really, in a story, it's just what are the obstacles you're facing that keep you from achieving your goals.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So how does one apply this into e-commerce retail? I kind of get it with a brand, say, for example, a fashion brand.
Yeah.
What about where it's a more commoditized brand or company even? I mean, over here, say AO.com. In fact, they're in America as well, right?
What's AO?
AO World is like a massive white goods electrical brand. we've got eBuyer, one of our customers, where it's a highly commoditized site, in the sense that you're selling things that, like computer peripherals or gaming peripherals, joysticks, consoles, very lots and lots of commoditized products. Can you apply the type of framework to that environment as well as brands and stuff?
Yeah. Can you send me a link to their site?
What, AO.com?
Yeah, is that what it is? AO.com?
Yeah.
Let's see.
Probably share. Let's have a look if I can share.
Yeah. So would you like me to do a bit of an audit, what I would normally do with one of my clients with this one, or just, are you asking for general?
No, if I can get to AO.com on here, I can probably share it.
On this page, they're not really telling a big story, except, we do see, okay, so the first thing that we look for is, what it is you're selling. So, that's part of the story. If we go back to, talking about framework, when you write your story, part of it is like knowing who your audience is, and then understanding what they want, and then clarifying their pain points. And then the next piece is, bringing in your authority. So who are you, and why should we care about what you offer? And then, what it is that you offer. What is your plan? And so being very clear about your plan is ideal. So what I would say is, it's very clear what they're selling.
Yeah.
So it's not a problem. It's, obviously the tech, tech products. And, even with the fancy, 100 pounds off, that is, that's clearly speaking to a British audience. So, I would immediately know that that's not necessarily for me, because I don't work in pounds, and we don't say fancy over here in the same way.
Yeah. I wonder if they have a US facing site.
Yeah, you know what? Let's look. /US.
.com. Yeah. Probably going to be wrong.
Yeah, no.
Well, I don't know whether they got one, but
yeah.
So, well, I mean, what I know about AO.com is that they are pretty slick operation, but they are very price driven. They're very, very. I mean, we've literally just bought a fridge freezer for I wouldn't say next to nothing, but I mean, pretty incredible price.
Okay. Is that what they're known for?
Yeah. Slick, very cost effective. Yeah, definitely.
So I would say if you already have that brand concept, they've done a good job previously of building that brand identity and that brand story. So, I don't want to tear up their current website, because, they've gone to the next level of, because their brand so well, then they don't have to speak as loudly with that. But what I would say is, there's not a lot of story that's happening here that tells me what their life is going to be like after they use their product. So, part of telling a good story is giving that, giving what your life will look like afterwards. So, I would say the one thing that they could have done on this page that would just really make things, storyfied, as we'd call it, would be to have an image of a happy customer with their product. So instead of just taking a picture of, the washing machine or the computer, putting all these in a scene with a happy person. images are images really tell a lot of story as well. So, but
No,
yeah,
that's great.
I mean, that's basically how I would go through, but I have like an audit that I usually
Yeah.
go through, and they don't have a lot of problems with where to click, so
Yeah.
you know exactly what they're asking you to do,
Yeah.
and they have a lot of great spaces where it's telling you what you can do. So
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
shop now button or the basket, the track order, the
Yeah.
search, all those are leading me down
Yeah.
a customer journey or the hero's journey to make a purchase. Now, it doesn't really tell me what my life will be like after I make that purchase, which I
No.
think is what's lacking here.
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting you mentioned that, because obviously we bang on about customer lifetime value every day of the week, in our game, in
Yeah.
terms of personalization, and how it's all about getting a repeat customer retention, win back, getting them to purchase, more often than
Yeah.
they would have, with a lesser time scale in between, all contributing to an enhanced customer lifetime value. So I think this is what I was saying about, when you're in a highly commoditized world, I wonder if it's quite difficult. And in a way, when you're AO.com or eBuyer or whatever, you've got to make that immediate experience so powerful, whether it is price driven or ease of finding the product. Are you leaning more heavily on those elements as opposed to creating a story, or is there room, like you're saying, to add that element in as well to create even more differentiation? Sounds like the answer is yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you look at like Walmart in the US,
Yeah.
they're real price driven model, but it's they have their tagline everywhere
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
um, buy more for less or whatever their tagline may be, and so
Yeah.
in this, a lot of times with e-commerce, people try to, build a marketing plan using lots of paid media and,
Yeah. Yeah.
segmenting their audiences and things like that. But
Mm.
really the core is that website converting and
Yeah.
what rate is that website converting at? And I
Yeah.
would say if you look at your rate and it's not higher than the average, then you have a lot of work to do before you get into those
Yeah.
that deeper strategy. And so, yeah, like, as a first time person going to that AO site, I
Mm.
don't know what that's about. I don't know if these are good prices, if this is like high quality
Yeah.
product for less,
Yeah.
because that's meeting some really basic needs that I have,
Mm.
um,
Yeah.
I just want to keep going with my life. I want to have
Yeah.
the barbecues. I want to have my friends over.
Yeah.
I want to,
Yeah.
teach my kids that,
Yeah.
help them with their homework at the kitchen table.
Yeah.
You know, all those things that I need to do to have a fulfilling life,
Mm. Mm.
can be supported with the products of AO, but they're not telling
Yeah.
me that story. They're just showing me
Yeah.
that they have products and they, are running a
Yeah.
sale. So I would
Yeah.
say, really ramping up that concept of
Mm.
what does my life look like after I use your products?
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
I feel like is missing there.
Yeah. No, that's really great. I mean, obviously we can go into more detail if anybody out there wants to have a chat to Sarah about the framework or get an audit, because do you do a kind of like almost like a free teaser audit to actually,
Yeah, I actually use an audit, form that I go through and just
Yeah.
talk about clarifying your message and making sure your story is connecting
Yeah.
with your
Yeah.
audience.
That's
And
brilliant.
yeah.
That's awesome. So on that note, then, I mean, if people want to engage with you, have a quick chat, I mean, what's the best way for them to get hold of you and have one of these audits?
So I'm at braudcreative.com. So it's BRAUD creative.com.
Yeah.
And just on that front page, I have a, you can schedule a call with me, or you can get a free audit, get a free website review. So you just click on that free website review, and it'll send you a link to my scheduler, and we can set up a time to talk and go through, and even give your site a score, clarity and connection score that really is based on a storytelling framework.
Yeah, no, it sounds really cool. I think it's great that you can lean on, actual writing, authoring, ghost writing. I mean, you are a writer, and you've transferred that skill set into business, into brand marketing. So I think it's quite a strong skill set to bring to the table. So I'd be interested to see. I really encourage people to have a chat to you, because I think it could really bring a different edge to their kind of, for want of a better word, go-to-market strategy, right? So that's really interesting.
PG. I know you guys have products like PG Tips and things like that, like Procter and Gamble here. Use this same storytelling framework on their website and actually quadrupled their sales. Really? So it can be used for e-commerce and real commoditized product.
Oh, definitely. I mean, talking about PG Tips, I mean, I can't remember the guy's name, but it's a famous actor and a kind of a woolen kind of character thing.
Yeah.
And they grew kind of almost like a serialized story out of the adverts. Similarly with all those years ago, when in the UK, maybe, I don't know, with you as well in the US, the Nescafe adverts, where it was like a story that went from one to the other. But you know what I mean? But as a branding tool, I'm still talking about it now. So it must have worked.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
not that I drink granules, of course, right? But
but yeah, absolutely.
No, you're totally right.
That storytelling really ignites the emotions, and we buy through our emotions. We don't necessarily buy the best products. We buy the products that we can connect with, and they make easy to get. And so making your that whole journey of buying an easy journey and super simple, that's really the key as well, and telling a clear story makes that easy.
Totally. Well, look, just as a sort of a final question for you, not to put you on the spot again, because obviously we did AO.com on the spot. You did very, very well there, I thought. So pull something out of the vaults of Sarah Braud. Sorry for saying Braud at the beginning. It's Braud, right? Sarah Braud. Pull something out of the vaults of your life experience or business experience or writing skill, and give the listeners and viewers one golden nugget to take away from this amazing conversation we've had.
Well, I think your story can be boiled down into your elevator pitch or your one-liner. And so I would say, if you can tell the three parts of your story or your one-liner, which is the problem you're solving, the solution that you're offering that problem, or the products or services that you're offering to solve that problem, and the results of using your product. And so if you can boil it down to those 3 points, you've got you're well on your way to telling the best brand story that you have. So that's your one-liner, So for me, I help brands, most companies really struggle in communicating their message clearly and in a way that is compelling. And I offer brand marketing and story consultancy so that brands can create clarity, spark interaction, and ignite their businesses. So that's my liner.
Okay,
and that has all 3 of those elements.
Okay, cool. So the 3 elements again, you've got a problem, you've identified the problem, you know the solution, and you know the result of solving the solution.
That's correct.
Okay, awesome. And obviously the customer is the hero. Let's not forget that.
Absolutely. That's number one.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I'm going to take that away. I'm afraid that's a bit of consultancy for me. Lovely job.
Good.
I'm sure we'll be in touch anyway. But
Take it and run.
Absolutely. So, guys, I hope you enjoyed that chat with Sarah. It just remains for me to say, if you want to keep abreast of all the vlogs and podcasts and stuff that we send out, do go to segmentify.com/EGS. If you haven't done already, you can sign up there. You can access everything that comes out, including Sarah's vlog today. If you want to be on the show, or you want to get in touch, or you've got any questions or anything like that, just give me a shout anytime. Phill@segmentify.com. But thank you, Sarah, so much again for the lovely chat.
Thank you for having me, Phill.
Not at all. And we look forward to seeing you all again soon.